A couple is angry and frustrated tonight. Their irreplaceable personal items have been stolen from a place that they thought was secure. And it's not just the theft, but also the insurance claim that has them feeling victimized twice. 6 News is on your side. Mike McKnight investigates.
Between moves, Donna and Gordon Scott needed to put valuable belongings in a unit secured by fence, gate, lock and camera at public storage.
We pulled up and my husband said, honey, where are our suitcases? I said, they're in there. And he says, no, they're not. They're gone. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
The couple discovered a lot more missing, including Donna's wedding dress.
I wanted to give it to my daughter, to my granddaughters, when they got married. There's just nothing, I can't get that back.
Though priceless to the couple, a wedding dress and other belongings had to be given a total value of almost $5,000 for the police report and more. The couple's storage unit lease agreement shows they've been paying $15 a month for insurance to cover the loss of any of their personal items kept behind lock and key here, and they assumed that would include theft. The Scotts say they filed a claim June 29th with Sedgwick, a storage unit insurance carrier, but instead of a check, they've received skeptical phone calls.
The insurance told us that they probably will not pay us out because of the fact that we can't prove forced entry.
Though crime techs took photos and fingerprints, the public police report doesn't mention forced entry, or if security camera video shows the couple's storage unit being burglarized, which would back their insurance claim.
We did ask for the video, and the district manager told us that they are cooperating 100% with the police, and they had to give them that information first.
The Scotts say Sedgwick is waiting on a break-in report from the district manager of public storage.
You could pass that on to whoever.
I didn't hear from him after leaving my card at the office, but the couple say the district manager of public storage called them to say proof of forced entry shouldn't be needed.
It's an excuse not to pay us out, and to think that we will make a false police report about taking our own things is absolutely ridiculous.
The Scotts say only when their claim is paid will they recover their sense of trust in insurance they paid for. On your side in Northwest Omaha, Mike McKnight, 6 News.
And Mike just sent in an interesting update. Tonight, he talked to another renter in the same storage facility who also filed a police report. She says items are missing from her unit and there's no sign of forced entry. A spokesperson for Sedgwick says that the claim filed by the Scotts has been elevated for review.